A bottle of infant fever medicine. That's all it was supposed to be. One quick delivery, one signature, then back to the pharmacy. But when Naomi Delgado stepped into the penthouse that night, she didn't find a nanny. She found Max Ellison, billionaire CEO, collapsed on the kitchen floor, clutching a crying baby. She didn't mean to stay, but something in his eyes, broken, exhausted, quietly pleading, kept her there. Long enough to soothe the child. Long enough to see the man behind the name. And what began as a midnight mistake would pull two strangers into a storm of secrets, second chances, and a kind of love neither of them believed they deserved. Before we dive into the story, comment below where you're watching from. Enjoy the story, everyone. The elevator should have required a keycard, but someone had propped it open with a cardboard box. Naomi hesitated for a second, clutching the pharmacy bag against her chest like a shield. This place didn't look like the kind of building where doors stayed open for long or where cleaners like her were welcome after hours. But the note on the order was urgent, scrawled in uneven handwriting, baby sick. Urgent pickup. No noise. She took a breath, stepped inside, and pressed PH. Her reflection stared back at her in the mirrored wall, hair pinned messily beneath a knit beanie, dark circles under her eyes, and a hoodie that smelled faintly of formula and Lysol. This wasn't her job. She was supposed to be restocking shelves, not delivering meds to strangers in glass towers. But Sandra, her manager, had begged. "You live the closest, Naomi. Please." The penthouse hallway was too quiet. Not the calm kind of quiet, the uneasy, something's wrong kind. She knocked once. No answer. She was about to turn and leave when she heard it, a baby's thin, desperate cry. Not wailing. Not throwing a tantrum. Just needing. Naomi tried the door. Unlocked. She stepped into the silence, heart hammering. The place was cavernous, cold marble floors, stainless steel everything, furniture that looked too expensive to touch. And in the center of it all, slumped against the bottom cabinets of a sleek black kitchen, was a man. He was pale. Sweating. One arm curled around a whimpering baby in footy pajamas, the other gripping the edge of the countertop like it might anchor him. "Oh my God," Naomi whispered, rushing forward. "Sir? Are you?" His head lifted slightly. Eyes dark, unfocused. "She wouldn't stop crying," he mumbled. I tried everything." And then he gestured weakly with his chin. "The fever." Naomi knelt beside him, setting the pharmacy bag down carefully. "I've got the medicine. Infant acetaminophen. You just okay? Let me take her a second." He hesitated, then slowly passed the baby into her arms. She was hot. Too hot. Little fists balled up against Naomi's chest, mouth trembling. "I didn't know what else to do," he said, breath catching. "I called the concierge. They said to order from somewhere nearby." "That's you." "Sort of," she replied softly. "Let's give her the dose first. Then I'll check on you." She moved on instinct, the kind that came from too many nights with her own baby boy, Mateo, and too many moments of not knowing what to do but doing something anyway. She measured the dose, coaxed it into the child's mouth between tiny sobs, then cradled her until the tension began to ease. "Do you have a thermometer?" she asked. He nodded vaguely. "Bathroom. Drawer. I think." She found it. Checked. 101.8. Not terrifying, but not good. She made a note to suggest cool cloths and fluids. She'd call her sister later. Cece was a nurse. By the time Naomi returned to the kitchen, the man was sitting upright, back against the fridge, eyes closed like the act of staying conscious took effort. "You need rest," she said gently. "You're dehydrated. Probably haven't eaten in hours." He opened his eyes, blinked at her like he was just now seeing her clearly. "What's your name?" "Naomi. I'm Max." She froze. "Max? As in Ellison?" She'd seen him before. On billboards. In finance news. The kind of man people wrote books about and never actually met. Except now he looked nothing like the crisp magazine photos. His shirt was inside out. There was a dried spill on one sleeve. His hair was damp with sweat, and his face, handsome, yes, but hollowed out by something deeper than fatigue, looked like it had forgotten how to be anything but tired. "I didn't recognize you," she admitted. "Good," he murmured. "I'd rather be nobody tonight." She didn't ask questions, just helped him onto the couch and passed him a glass of water. The baby, she'd never gotten her name, was asleep now, cheeks flushed but peaceful. Naomi held her a little longer than necessary, unsure why it felt like her arms didn't want to let go. "I'm not usually like this," Max said hoarsely, watching them. "I had someone, a nanny, but she quit 2 days ago. Said she couldn't do it anymore." Naomi nodded, not out of agreement but understanding. "I was supposed to find a replacement," he continued. "But the interviews couldn't, and then she got sick. I tried everything. I even Googled how to swaddle. I just failed." Naomi didn't speak for a long moment. Then, quietly, "You didn't fail. You stayed." That seemed to hit him harder than he expected. His throat worked around the reply, but nothing came. "Do you have anyone to help? Family?" she asked. He shook his head. "No one left." Something sharp flickered in her chest. She didn't know this man, but something about the way he looked at his daughter, like she was both the weight and the reason he kept breathing, silenced every judgment she might have had. "I should go," she said softly, standing. Max didn't stop her, but his eyes followed her all the way to the door. "She likes you," he said. Naomi turned. "She doesn't even know me." "Still," he murmured. She didn't cry. Neither of them said anything more. The moment stretched between them, fragile, strange, real. And then Naomi stepped into the hallway and let the door click quietly shut behind her. She didn't expect to see him again. But the world, it seemed, had other plans. 3 days passed. Naomi thought about them more than she wanted to admit. She told herself it was just the baby, that she was worried about the fever, not the man behind the door. She replayed the scene in her mind every night, trying to shake the strange weight it left behind. But even as she stocked shelves, mixed compounds, and soothed grumpy late-night customers, the memory clung to her. The quiet apartment, the baby's soft breathing, and the way Max had looked at her like she was a lifeline he didn't trust himself to hold on to. She told no one, not even her sister. What would she say? "Hey, remember that billionaire you see in Forbes? I delivered baby Tylenol to his penthouse and held his kid while he nearly passed out." No, that wasn't something people like her got to say. That was something that happened in other lives. Until it didn't. The next time she saw him, it wasn't in a glossy photo or on a screen. It was at the pharmacy. She was clocking out early. Mateo's school had called about a possible fever, and she needed to pick him up. She rounded the corner toward the exit and almost collided with someone stepping through the automatic doors. Max, same man, very different look. Pressed coat, clean shave, but the circles under his eyes remained, and the baby in the stroller wasn't sleeping. She was fussing, kicking her feet against the blanket. He looked up, caught sight of Naomi, and stopped. "I didn't know where else to go," he said, voice raw with quiet urgency. "She won't stop crying again. I tried everything. She's not eating. She's too warm. And I didn't want to take her to a hospital unless—" Naomi was already kneeling by the stroller, gently reaching for the baby's hand. Warm, flushed again. "You should see a doctor," she said gently. "But let me check something first." He followed her to the consultation counter, where she explained the symptoms to the on-call pharmacist and got the okay for a different medication. Through it all, Max said nothing, just stood there, rocking the stroller, shoulders tight with helplessness. Has she been sleeping? Naomi asked, scribbling instructions onto a sticky note for him. Not really, and neither have I. Any help yet? Nanny? He shook his head. Naomi looked at him. Really looked. I'm off for the rest of the day, she said. Come with me. Max blinked. Where? Just follow me. He hesitated, but when the baby let out a soft, hoarse cry, he nodded. Her apartment was small. Second floor walk-up, 2 locks on the door, a peeling welcome mat that said, "Hope you like cats," even though they didn't have one. Mateo was curled on the couch with a juice box and a damp cloth on his forehead, cartoons playing low on the TV. This is Mateo, Naomi said. My everything. Max glanced at the boy, then back at her. You're a single parent. Welcome to the club. They didn't talk much after that. Naomi set up a humidifier, showed Max how to strip the baby down to a diaper and wrap her in a cool cloth, then handed him a bottle of pediatric electrolyte solution. Slowly, the girl began to settle. Not sleep exactly, but quieter. Mateo perked up when he realized someone else was sick too. He offered the baby his favorite plush frog for courage, then returned to the couch as if the exchange meant a sacred truce had been made. Max watched it all like someone witnessing a different planet. He stood in Naomi's kitchen, holding the frog now nestled on his daughter's chest, and said, How do you make it look easy? It's not, she said. It's just survival. But I've had more practice. He gave a small, tired laugh. I never thought I'd be doing this alone. I used to think love was for other people. My life was my work. Everything else could wait. And then she was just here. This tiny human. And she didn't care about any of it. Not my money. Not my name. Just me. That's all they ever want, Naomi said. You. Not the polished version. He looked over at her. And what do you want? Naomi froze for a second, surprised by the question. Then she shrugged. Someone who shows up. Not perfectly. Not with grand gestures. Just someone who stays. The room felt suddenly too quiet. The kind of quiet that holds something in its breath. The baby shifted. Max looked down. Her name's Isla. Naomi smiled. Beautiful. He looked back at her. So's yours. They didn't kiss. They didn't even touch. But something moved between them, not loud, not rushed. Just present. Like the first warmth of sunlight after a storm. Naomi gave him a pillow and blanket. He curled up on the floor beside Isla's makeshift crib, a laundry basket with soft towels, and fell asleep faster than she thought possible. And even though her couch wasn't big and Mateo snored lightly and the heater clicked too loud every 15 minutes, Naomi didn't mind. Because for the first time in months, the apartment didn't feel like something she had to survive. It felt like something whole. She watched Max sleep, one arm resting lightly over the edge of the basket, fingers brushing Isla's blanket. She hadn't meant to let him in. But she didn't regret it. Not even a little. The next morning arrived too soon, with pale light slipping through the curtain gaps and the familiar rattle of a city waking up. Naomi stirred before her alarm, muscle memory dragging her from sleep even though her body begged for more. She sat up slowly, blinking at the stillness of her living room, then remembered. Max. He was still there, curled beside the basket like a man who hadn't slept in a decade. His arm was still half extended toward Isla, as if even in sleep he didn't want to be too far from her. The baby was snuggled against Mateo's plush frog, her tiny fists rising and falling with each soft breath. Naomi made coffee. She tried not to think too hard about the quiet comfort pressing into the room's corners or the way her chest ached with something tender and impossible to name. Mateo padded out of his room, hair a mess, pajamas half twisted. He spotted Max on the floor, blinked once, and whispered he stayed. Naomi nodded, smiling into her mug. He did. Later, Max stirred, bleary-eyed but more rested than before. He sat up slowly, running a hand through his hair, then looked around like he didn't quite believe he was still here. I didn't mean to fall asleep, he murmured. I figured that when you started snoring. He winced. That bad? She shrugged, teasing. Let's just say I'm glad Isla didn't join in. Max chuckled, rubbing his face. Then he looked at Naomi again, not casually, not incidentally, but really looked at her. There was something in his expression she wasn't ready for. Something grateful. Something open. I haven't felt like this in a long time, he said quietly. Not since before everything broke. Naomi didn't ask what he meant. She didn't need to. They spent the morning like people pretending time didn't exist. Max offered to cook breakfast and ended up nearly burning the toast. Naomi made eggs. Mateo told knock-knock jokes that made Isla squeal in delight. It was domestic, chaotic, and impossibly normal. And Naomi didn't want it to end. But of course, it had to. By noon, Max checked his phone for the first time and visibly tensed. My assistant's called 9 times, he muttered. Apparently, I've vanished. Well, Naomi said softly, you did. He looked at her. I didn't mean to. I know. He glanced at Isla. Would you mind if I came back? I mean, if we came back. She didn't answer right away. Then slowly, I think we both know I'd mind more if you didn't. That afternoon, Max returned to a boardroom full of people pretending they hadn't noticed his absence. He fielded questions, signed papers, and stared too long at a photo on his desk, not of his company, but of Isla, taken the day she was born. He should have felt powerful again. He didn't. He felt misplaced. 3 days passed before he found an excuse to stop by Naomi's again. Just wanted to drop these off, he said, holding out a bag of groceries awkwardly. And see how Mateo's doing. He's fine, Naomi said. But we're out of coffee, so that bag's your ticket in. After that, the pattern formed itself. Some days Max came by just to check on Isla's schedule. Some days he helped Mateo with homework. Once he fell asleep on Naomi's couch again, holding Isla while Naomi painted Mateo's bookshelf in the hallway. It wasn't planned. It wasn't declared. But it became routine, and in that quiet repetition, something deeper began to grow. He started to laugh more. She started to hope more. One evening, they sat on the fire escape after the kids had gone to bed. Naomi handed him a mug of tea she'd sweetened without asking. Somehow she already knew how he liked it. You still look tired, she said gently. Max sighed. Tired feels like my default setting now. You could hire help. I tried. But no one feels right. I don't need someone polished. I need someone who gives a damn. She didn't respond. She just sipped her own tea. I didn't tell you what happened, he said after a while. To Isla's mom. Naomi's heart stuttered. You don't have to. I want to. He stared out at the skyline. The wind tugged at his hair. We weren't perfect. But she was brilliant. Fierce. We argued a lot. She hated how much I worked. But Isla? She was her idea. Her dream. He paused, voice catching. She had complications during the delivery. We thought it was nothing. It wasn't. She was gone within a day. Just like that. Naomi reached over. She didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't give him the words people always say when they don't know what to do with someone else's pain. She just touched his hand, light and grounding. Max didn't pull away. I didn't know how to do any of this alone, he whispered. You're not alone anymore, Naomi said. She didn't mean for it to come out that way, so direct, so absolute. But once the words left her, they felt true. Max looked at her. His hand turned slightly, palm to palm. His fingers curled around hers. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a promise. But it was something. And for both of them, that something felt like more than enough. The knock came 2 days later. It wasn't Max. It wasn't anyone Naomi recognized. Just a man in a crisp suit and a camera lens peeking from his chest pocket. Miss Delgado? He asked, too politely. Would you be willing to comment on your relationship with Max Ellison? Naomi froze. The grocery bag in her arms sagged against her hip. Excuse me. Photos of you and Mr. Ellison have surfaced. Some rather charming ones. You on the fire escape, him holding your son's hand. The internet's curious. Are you dating? living together. She shut the door without answering. Her hands trembled as she locked it, then double-locked it, then yanked the curtains closed, breath coming too fast. Her phone was already buzzing. Messages, pings, missed calls. One from Cece. "Girl, what is going on? You're all over Twitter." She didn't check. She couldn't. Instead, she sank onto the couch, knees tucked up, heart pounding. Mateo watched her with wide eyes. "Mom?" he asked softly. "Are we in trouble?" She didn't know how to answer. Half an hour later, Max was at her door. No guards, no assistant, just him. "I didn't know," he said the moment she opened it. "I swear, Naomi, I never would've. Someone was watching," she whispered. "They were outside. They knew my name. I'll make it stop. You can't." Her voice cracked, and Max went still. She wasn't angry. She wasn't yelling. She just looked afraid. She stepped back, let him in. Mateo stayed close to her, holding her hand. "They're saying things," she murmured. "They found my old blog, my job history. People I haven't spoken to in years are messaging me." Max reached for her, but she stepped away. "You brought this into my life," she said quietly. "I didn't ask for any of it. I didn't want to be part of your spotlight. I didn't think." "No," she cut in, eyes shining. "You didn't. You showed up here with a grocery bag and a baby and made it all feel real. And I let myself believe it could be. It still can be." She shook her head, voice trembling. "Not like this. I'll tell them the truth," Max insisted. "That I pushed my way into your life. That you didn't chase any of this. It won't matter. You don't get it, Max. They'll paint me as a gold digger, a nanny, a social climber, whatever sells. And you'll move on while I'm left sweeping the pieces off my doorstep." Max flinched, but said nothing. "I have a son," Naomi continued. "He's not a story. He's not a tabloid moment. He's my whole world. And right now, I don't know how to keep him safe from this." A heavy silence fell between them. Max stepped back. Not because he wanted to, because he knew she needed him to. "I'll fix it," he said again, softer now. "Even if it means walking away." She looked at him, really looked, and whispered, "Maybe that's the only way." He didn't argue. He just turned and left. The door closed behind him with the finality of something breaking. The headlines kept coming for 3 more days. Someone unearthed her community college records. Someone else posted a photo of Mateo with his face blurred, but not blurred enough. Naomi deleted every account she owned, stopped answering messages, turned off the ringer and drew the blinds. She didn't leave the apartment unless she had to. She clung to routine school drop-offs, soup, cartoons. The normal things, but nothing felt normal. Mateo didn't ask questions. He just stuck closer to her than usual. At night, he'd curl beside her on the couch instead of sleeping in his own bed. She never told him why. Some nights she almost texted Max. She didn't. She wasn't sure what she'd even say. Meanwhile, Max sat in his corner office, staring at a boardroom full of people with polished smiles and polished lies. His assistant tiptoed around him. His PR team begged for statements. His legal advisor wanted NDAs. He said no to all of it, because none of it would bring her back. He tried to work. He failed. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. Everything he touched now felt hollow, like he'd tasted something real and now nothing else would do. He didn't know how to fix it. He didn't know if he even could. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. Hair messy, hoodie sleeves rolled up, holding his baby like she belonged there. And all he wanted was to go home. Not to the penthouse, to her. But Naomi was gone. Not physically, just unreachable. And all he could do was wait in the quiet space she'd left behind. Started with a note, not a text, not a call, a piece of paper, crumpled at the corners, folded with care, taped to the outside of Naomi's apartment door. For words in shaky crayon writing. "We miss you too." She stared at it for a long time. Her fingers hovered just above the paper like it might vanish if she touched it. Mateo came up behind her and read it aloud, then smiled for the first time in days. "Can we see them again?" he asked quietly. Naomi didn't answer right away. She hadn't let herself think about Max. Not deeply. It hurt too much. But now, seeing that crooked handwriting, seeing proof that they hadn't forgotten, that he hadn't forgotten, something inside her cracked open. Later that evening, there was a knock. Not a swarm of press. Not a courier. Just Max. Isla was in his arms, bundled in her softest jacket, and Mateo's frog was clutched tight in her tiny hands. Max looked tired, but not the same kind of tired. This was something quieter, something humbled. "I didn't come to fix it," he said before she could speak. "I didn't come with answers or security teams or spin." Naomi stood in the doorway, arms crossed, heart racing. "I came because I miss the sound of your laugh. I miss how you talk to Isla like she's the only person in the world who matters. I miss watching your kid boss mine around and thinking, this is what a family feels like." She blinked fast. "You left. You asked me to. You said you wouldn't try to fix it. And then you disappeared." "I didn't disappear," he said softly. "I gave you space, and I hated every second of it." Naomi looked down at Isla, now babbling softly into the frog's face. She reached for her without thinking, muscle memory, instinct, and the baby came to her without hesitation. "She remembered me," Naomi whispered. "Of course she did. I'm still scared," she said. "This world, your world, it's loud. I don't know if I can live in it." "Then let's build a new one," Max said. "Not in penthouses, not in headlines, just somewhere quiet, somewhere real." Mateo peeked out from behind Naomi's leg, saw Isla, and immediately grinned. "Does she still like toast?" Max nodded. "With jam. I saved some." Naomi's breath hitched at the simplicity of it. "I don't know what happens next," she said, eyes on Max. "I don't have a 5-year plan. I don't even have a 5-day plan." "I don't want a plan," he replied. "I want a Tuesday morning. I want spilled juice and lost shoes and someone who won't vanish the moment it gets complicated." She studied his face. The honesty in it, the softness that hadn't been there weeks ago. The man she met in that kitchen was still in there, but so was someone new. Someone reshaped by everything they'd been through. "Okay," she said at last. "Okay." She nodded. "Come in." That night, they didn't light candles or pour wine. They ordered cheap takeout and let the kids stay up too late. Isla fell asleep in Naomi's lap. Mateo curled beside Max on the couch, asking questions about rockets and rich people and whether they had secret bunkers. Naomi laughed more than she had in months. Not a fairy tale laugh, a real one. Later, after the dishes were stacked and the lights dimmed, Max took her hand across the couch cushions. No grand declarations, no ring boxes, just skin against skin. "I don't need the world to approve," he said. "Good," Naomi replied, "because I don't need to be anyone else's version of worthy." He leaned his head against hers. "You're already mine." And for once, there were no headlines, no spotlights, no explanations. Just two people, two kids, a plush frog, and a world they were choosing to build one messy, honest moment at a time.